Songbird Story by Rosen, illustrated by Jill Dow. Once there were two birds, Fip and Fepper. Fip lived in one wood and Fepper lived in another. Between the woods ran a wide river. Fip and Fepper were songbirds, and they sang so loudly that the sound of their songs filled the air until the trees themselves seemed to be singing. One day Fip flew to the edge of his wood and looked across the river. On the far side was another wood. Fip upped and flew over the river. No sooner had he got there than he heard another bird singing. It was Fepper. When he heard her, Fip sang too, and soon the two of them were singing together. On and on they sang, flying in and out among the trees until it grew dark. With one quick last look at Fepper, Fip flew back to his wood. Next day, Fepper flew to the riverside and looked across to Fip's wood. She rested a moment and then upped and flew over the river. Soon Fip and Fepper were flying and singing through the leaves and branches until it grew dark. Then, after taking one quick last look at Fip, Fepper flew over the river back to her own wood. The day after, it was Fip's turn, but neither he nor Fepper knew about the bird catcher, who was always on the lookout for beautiful songbirds he could sell in the city. The bird catcher had heard Fip singing from his wood, and he laid his trap with cunning. As Fip flew towards the river to visit Fepper, he was caught. The bird catcher took up the trap and headed back to the city. Alone in her wood, Fepper sang and flew and sang until the trees themselves seemed to be singing. She was waiting for Fip, but of course Fip never came. The bird catcher put Fip in a cage and hung it on the wall in his shop in the city until someone should come who wanted to buy him. Before long, a man came and bought Fip as a birthday present for his little girl. When she took the covering off the cage, she was so pleased she laughed and laughed as she hung Fip's cage on the wall in the kitchen. Sometimes Fip didn't feel like singing, but sometimes he did. The girl gave him nice things to eat, and sometimes she let him out of his cage to fly around the room and perch on the curtain rail. She taught him how to perch on her finger, and she laughed when he sang for her. Fip would sing to hear her laughing. Far away in the woods, Fepper lived on, until one day the bird catcher came to her wood too. He caught Fepper in his trap and took her to sell in his shop. Before long, a woman bought her as a present for her little boy. She took Fepper home to their flat, and when the boy took the covering off the cage, everything happened in just the same way as it had with Fip and the girl. One summer morning, the girl opened her kitchen window and hung Fip's cage on a hook outside. The sun shone on Fip's feathers. A soft breeze blew through the bars of his cage, and he sang. He sang as he used to sing among the leaves and branches. The boy in the flat over the road opened his window. "What a beautiful songbird that girl has," he thought. "I wish mine sang like that." The boy took his cage out and hung it on his balcony. Of course, his songbird was Fepper. At once, Fepper heard Fip singing, and she sang too. Fip heard her and sang back. Once more the air was full of the sound of their singing, although this time each one was in a cage. The next day the cages were hung outside again, and Fip and Fepper sang to each other all day. Little by little the days grew shorter. One cold morning neither the girl nor the boy took Fip's cage or Feppa's to hang on the balcony or outside the window. Fip and Feppa had to stay indoors in the kitchen. That cold morning was the first of many, for winter was coming. Fip and Feppa sat in their cages inside and strained to catch the sound of each other singing. But Fip could not hear Feppa because she was too sad to sing, and Feppa could not hear Fip because he was too sad as well. "Oh," said the girl, "my songbird's no good. It won't sing any more." Her father gave Fip to a fishmonger, and the fishmonger gave him to a fisherman who lived by a river. "Oh," said the boy, "my songbird's no good now." And his mother gave Feppa to a carpenter who gave her to a forester who lived in the woods. Feppa was afraid he would never see or hear Fip again. She felt trapped and lost. She sat in her cage huddled up and cold. Then one day from her perch she saw a fisherman come down the river on his boat. On board he had a bird cage, and in the cage was a songbird. It was Fip, singing away, enjoying the breeze through his feathers. From that day on, Feppa waited for her chance. One morning when the forester came to feed her, she darted out past his hand and flew high up into the air. She flew and she flew until she found the fisherman's house, and then she perched on his roof and sang. The fisherman heard Feppa singing. He was a clever man at catching fish, and now he put his mind to catching the little songbird. Sure enough, clack! He caught her, and the only place he could put her was in the cage with Fip. At long last they were together again, and at first they sang together so happily that people came from all around to listen to the fisherman's pretty songbirds. But a cage is a small place for one bird, let alone two. Before long, Fip wanted Feppa's perch to sit on, and Feppa couldn't help noticing how Fip always had first nibble at the food. Soon they even thought there was something wrong with each other's singing. Once again the singing stopped. The two birds sat at opposite ends of the cage, scarcely looking at each other. "These birds are no good now," the fisherman said, and without a second thought he took the cage outside and pulled open the door. Away flew Fip and Feppa high over the river. At long last they could see their woods again, and not through the bars of a cage. They sang for joy, but not so loudly as they used to, for wasn't it their loud, sweet song that had got them into trouble long ago? This time each sang just loud enough for the other. Off they went, soaring and swooping among the leaves and branches, and as far as anyone knows, that's where they are still. The end.